So we started into a telco space where we have our own platform for building NMS and EMS applications. So from that point, we've been evolving with technology for last 2 decades. And then we came up with our own division called Manage Engine, which is predominantly built over WebNMS platform. So in Manage Engine, we built our ITMS application, ITOM applications to manage your complete IT infrastructure. So followed by that, we started joining the Cloudburst with the Zoho platform, where we started our CRM and then mailing services. Now we have almost 40-point products with Zoho, with 50 million customers across the globe. So as we are evolving with the technology, with the brains behind WebNMS, want to start or adopt the new technology, that's when we popped up into IoT. So we've been into IoT space for the last 4 years, and then we started with again OEM platforms use cases, and now we're moving eventually into product base. So that's been our core and butter for the last 2 decades. So the reason why I want to share this application with the screenshot is, so today we all prone to technology, and we know we've been using technology in logistics management somehow for track and trace, your EPODs, and you're handling your customers, billing invoices. So how many of us here have one integrated application together? That is like right from the trip sheet to EPOD to billing and contracts. So the reason why, like again, so these are the independent silos that we all know, right? So the track and trace, the billing modules, the custom contracts. So how are we going to handle that with WebNMS and Zoho is what we're going to see today in next couple of slides. I just want to share a quick glance of market study which's been done. So here it says about the major challenges that logistics industry are facing currently. So the major is the technology gap, fuel management, and then reducing the OPEX cost. So what Zoho has done is trying to bring up few modules together and help you to give you insight on your operations. So this is what we're going to see our next couple of slides. How WebNMS and Zoho has integrated together to give you a holistic approach of integrated logistics transport management. That is right from your assets, right from your trips information, right from your fuel management, contracts, billing, and reports, etc. on one single hood with one holistic dashboard. So under the asset information, so we all know that assets are predominantly a backbone of our logistics, right? So how many of us are paying attention to our assets? How are we managing them? What are the core assets, how the assets are performing well? All my assets are performing well. How do we know that information? Or how am I using my assets is very important, right? So that's what we're trying to understand. So most of your assets, we track this information, how being used, how being maintained, and are they being used to the full efficiency of this entire life cycle of assets that we have, and how are we managing them in one single application. So what we have done is we have made a complete asset inventory information into the application, and we also brought in the maintenance part into the product so that you get to know how your assets are maintained and how is my cost center working towards my logistics. And 2, even our drivers or any components for warehousing can also be accommodated into this space so that you can have a holistic view on how much you spend for your asset management here. So if you further drill down into any assets, you get to know of the performance of those assets. That means how many trips is being done, how it's been replicating on my cost center, and my renewals, the contracts that attach to my assets. And we have also tried to work with a few Canvas devices so that it can also give you a quick insight of your assets. Let's say, for example, you have a long haul trip for your truck, and this truck has to go for a service. So this can help you to understand that, okay, I have to swap the truck so that I can make sure the trip has successful return back to the garage. And 2, so the track and trace. So I know like everybody would know about track and trace. What is that unique with WebNMS or IoT space what we have? So along with track and trace, we give you the live track options. We store the entire path which your truck has taken all the way through, and then we store it for the longer audit policies. And then we can also set geofencing for your trucks. And the best part what we have done is you can do a route planning optimization on the fly. So already you know that, let's say a truck travels from Delhi to Mumbai. So already picker points have been added to that, and you want to add few more points to the existing route. It can be adopted automatically, dynamically can be changed, and that can be passed down to the driver's mobile app automatically so that they get notified that they have to swing back in a different route to reach the destinations. So these sort of dynamic updates can help you to understand or use your assets or the truck movement most effectively across your fleet operations. So this is a quick insight on your assets. So if you further drill down to that, the track and trace information can give you about your asset details, your trips information, and then you can also do a playback of your assets. See, most of us, I think from last 2 shows, I'm just trying to get back a few feedback from the users. So they won't understand when a truck leaves the warehouse or the delivery points, they're not coming back to the warehouse at the same day or next day. So what happens is this either be misused or they go back somewhere else and then they connect back the next day morning for that means. So how do we calculate in terms of a trip-based contract with your customers? So that kilometers has to be excluded, right? So what we have done is we have set a geofencing for your last delivery point. From that point, we trim the number of kilometers for your billing purposes. So we have addressed a lot of use cases that we worked with one of the clients to have these use cases addressed. Right. So in asset management, fuel management and expenses are one of the biggest challenges that we face, right? So any trip is initiated, we have to pay for the drivers, for the fuel, and then toll gate, and then loading and unloading charges. Am I right? So how can we automate it? How can make this money transaction much more seamless? So what we have done is we have Zoho Expense as a product which is integrated with the driver's app, so that it is also hooked, connected with the Paytm services as well. So that rather than you transferring cash to your drivers, you can do a Paytm transfer to that particular driver app, so that he can use this Paytm services to fuel it, to pay for your toll gates, and for any other miscellaneous expense that is coming across. So, and it can also use for any other additional costs. So what we have done is, to make it much more seamless here, we brought in approval process for that. Right, so here is the fuel management workflow process where you can build your own workflow. For example, let's say, hey, a trip which is let's say you have a contract with your customer, and you know it is going to be a trip-based contract with your customer, and you know that you're going to spend only X amount of value for every trip. So, but this particular driver requests you for additional money, right? In this case, what the flow should happen? So we are trying to digitalize this process. The moment if there's any additional request is raised, it passes on to a different workflow, maybe to a supervisor or a different workflow that can be attached. And then based on this requirements or need, this can be changed here. And whatever the screens I'm trying to share is completely customizable. So it's like a platform where you can start adding your own requirements, because we have a diversified industry across globe. So rather than we sticking up with a product, we want to make this as a open, customizable, low-code platform where people can just drag and drop their fields, create the workflow, and then add additional fields whatever they wanted here. So this workflow is completely customizable, and this can be also applicable for your business process as well. Let's say you were trying to build a different logic around your logistic or transport management or different approval process. Let's say, as one of my colleague was saying that optimizing your route, say how much the truck is traveling to a destination, if the space is available for adopting to additional baggage or things, you can also do that changes here. So for example, I can say a truck between Mumbai to Delhi is left with 10 tons availability, then I can look in for my other distribution centers where they can load or add to that particular truck. So on the fly, you can define a workflow here. If there's any changes been added, it gets notified and you can adapt to this. Right, so now we have asset management covered, we know how to handle the expenses around the fuel management and how it can be managed. So how are we bringing that to your back office, right? So normally what happens is your truck team will write on a trip sheet. They will say start point, end point, and how much kilometers they have covered, and then these are the expenses that I have made. So imagine if Zoho is giving you a mobile-based version of this option, right? So he gives automatically check-in options, and it tells you how much distance being covered, and then what are the miscellaneous expenses that we made for the fuel and other services. So if that's the case, automatically that information can be pumped into the CRM side or the ERP or even your third-party existing ERP application that you have, so that based on the contracts that you have built, right? So this value can be billed automatically or set as an input to your billing contracts, so that the invoices can be raised automatically. So today what happens is typically any 3PL guys, like they have a big back office team where the trip sheets are received, they calculate the number of kilometers driven, the expenses, and then they put back to their books team, and then they calculate the invoices based on the customer. Imagine for a month of January, let's say month of December, the bills would have raised only mid of January, right? So there is no ad hoc or dynamic billing as happening based on the requirements or the. And the other way around, the customers can also visualize how the service being offered by the customers, the 3PL guys. They can know how much trips are being done, whether the trips are being actually as per the contract, So if there is any additional kilometers, why the customer has to pay for it. So before he raises a question, he can go back to the portal and just click on a trip and see, okay, I have changed the additional destination point. That's the reason I'm paying for another 50, 60 kilometers or maybe 100 kilometers. And they have charged me as per my contract. So rather than they raising a query, we ourselves can give you a complete information on the end customer portal. So that gives a fair understanding on how the customer is using the transparency between the customers and us are made easy through us with the dashboard and the customer portal option. This is a quick insight about a customer. So this is how the customer portal look like. For example, each customer can look at his own stats, number of kilometers done, how many vehicles have been set around, the trips or various contract types that you have partnered with them. So according to that information, this dashboard can be changed accordingly, and then it applies for the end customer option. So as I said, invoice and billing as part of our own ERP application that we offer to you. So this is again completely customizable, where you can start building up multiple contracts for various customers. For example, this particular contract which I've drafted here is for the trip based. It could be a kilometer driven or hourly based. There could be multiple contracts that you can build into the product. So this is again completely customizable. And similar way, each contract may be having multiple trucks part of it. So there I can mention how many kilometers this particular contract consisting of, or this is hourly based. So those information is completely customizable and can be managed with it. So based on this input and the input from your trucks, we match up with this and generate invoice every month. And if possible, we can also do a weekly invoice generation as a prediction numbers, so that your customers or you can see that, okay, where is the surge happening? Why this is higher? Why was this more expensive for this particular month? So you can have a quick insight of the data rather than you waiting for a month or two to collate all this information in a spreadsheet and then calculating this information to your back office. We give you live and dynamic information on the spot. So this is an example what we do. These are the real-time dashboards of the product which we have built. So I can quickly show you a demo, probably either in our booth, we are at A15, or if we have time, so we can also show the demo now. Alerts and management may not be a correlating event here. So if you own your own assets, right, these are very critical part because it affects your supply chain. So how am I going to manage my assets is very important here. So as I told you, like we are partnered with various hardware vendors like Teltonica, Pointer, ERM, Autocop, so that any of these devices being plugged into your trucks, we can support automatically and seamlessly get the information from them. So in that space, we also get alerts like high temperature alert or overriding, or we can also do compliances. For example, let's say now compliance is becoming one big point it's in the Indian industry for transportation. So you can also know how much kilometers or how many hours a driver driving the truck and when exactly my vehicle has to be serviced. So these are the information we capture through alerts and we notify to a service team or a mobile team who completely focus on this asset management space. That's heading just got hidden out is like reporting, which you would say this is more very interesting part where reporting is one thing which you can get dynamically updated, and again you can build n number of reports aligned to these requirements. So this is completely customizable. Again, you need not to depend upon a developer or a parent company to run the reports against it. So whatever information that is keyed into the product, it can be automatically converted as reports into the applications. So we have on the box like 50 to 60 ad hoc reports that we have created with our experience. So on top of it, we have a completely customizable module where you can build your own reports on the fly. So this is kind of a quick insight, and this is again a completely customizable drag and drop option on your report building on dashboard creations here. This is a complete IoT platform what we have. So not only catered to fleet management, we have energy management and also remote site monitoring to this. So fleet is one of the modules that we have specialized into that. And what we are trying to do is we capture that information, help you to give you a robust information on the data that is collecting from your fleet or any other IoT devices connected into your logistics space. And then we pass on that value to the Zoho Cloud or the Zoho on-premise option that you have. So you can have billing, your contract management, you can have your customer information built into this. So this part plays a vital role here, and that is completely customizable. So apart from Zoho, we can also talk to any third-party applications. We have exposed our APIs. So rather than rip and replacing of any of your business setup, we can help you with. So with the help of this information, we are trying to connect your operations and business together so that you get your seamless of information and data visualization in one single place. So I think we all will be familiar with these features, what we have. So unlike the contemporary applications, WebNMS can also offer you track and trace, geofencing, last mile information, POD, EPOD options available. The whatever features that I'm talking to is, again, it's completely customizable. It is not adhered to one particular requirement here. That is the key advantage of WebNMS and IoT adoptions here. And then you don't need a developer kind of resource to do this. It's completely drag and drop, change your settings as you want it there. I'll take a few use cases that we are currently working with. So this is one of the biggest value chain aggregator that in India. So where he has multiple zeros of application. In fact, we got a lot of knowledge through him actually. So they had multiple applications in place, managing their customer contracts, customer relationship a separate thingy, and then the outsourced vehicles have been inward. So how are they going to collate this information is what they had a big challenge for us. So now we made this integrated platform as a technology partners for them, and we are adopting serving these requirements in one single application. So this helps them to have a complete dashboard view about how many customers they're serving, what are the trip information, how many trips per truck it's been taken up by the customer. So all those information has been captured for them in this requirement actually. So this we did for another customer where he's like an aggregator who gets container transfer. So in this case, we had a quick challenge that he said, I cannot use a hardware to track the trucks. So now what we did is, along with the mobile app, we also enable the GPS coordinates with the trucks so that any driver that picks up the containers from the yard, or he can do a job allocation. For example, he would have outsourced multiple vendors with him. So when any schedules are happening, he would block it to those drivers of the containers so that he can pass on the trip to the driver app automatically. And then the driver app would recommend him that, okay, this trip is scheduled for next week, 22nd of January. You need to pick up from Mumbai airport and drop it back to Delhi airport. So this kind of information can be done seamlessly, and with the help of his mobile app, we are tracking that entire route that is passing through. So this helps the customer to understand when the consignment will reach and what time is the estimated time of arrival. If it is delayed, why it is getting delayed. For example, he's halted for more than 2 days and somewhere in between. What could be the reason? Is there any tampering happening to my container? So what are these information can be a quick glance on it part. So this is a refer truck use case that we are already working with another client. So where we have given our IoT platform in this case. So what we have done is we have attached the temperature sensors and door sensors along with the tracking module. So they get to know is that the truck has been tampered anywhere on the way route. If the somewhere is open, we get a notification to them saying that, hey, the truck was opened this point of time and the door was closed at this point of time. And then whether the temperature has been maintained between like 18 to 24 on this temperature or not. So we give them the complete compliances on dynamic mode in the application. And this, it was not a part of our use case actually. This is for our own use case. In fact, Zoho has almost 7,000 employees. We are located outskirts of Chennai campus. So what we do is we need to onboard our employees from our station, railway station, which is like 13 kilometers away from our campus. So our customer had no tracking solution or booking forms available for him. So what we did is we helped him to develop our own application for helping to book cabs on the fly. So the moment we get down the railway station, we book a cab and then the cab will be automatically scheduled for him, and based on the availability, he can also arrange additional cabs there. For example, every Monday morning, we would be more in numbers because the cabs have to shuffle from different locations actually. So based on the dynamic need, he will arrange multiple cabs from different locations, or he would resend the cabs which has been already dropped our employees back in our Zoho campus. So this was a pretty much use case that we covered for him. And then where he's taking this application across other service industries that you're offering to his clients. A quick clientele on different use cases of IoT as well as Zoho combined application here. So Zoho can offer you two different worst cases. One is Zoho WebNMS IoT with integrated Zoho platform, or Zoho Creator, two options that we offer to our clients. Zoho Creator is completely a low-code platform where with the help of IoT data or with any other business data that you wanted, you can build your own application on top of it. It could be your ERP, it could be your logistics management, or it could be your billing, or it could be any other module that you're interested. Zoho Creator allows you to build that application on top of it. The key thing which I want to share is like, we are trying to address the gaps and challenges what our current logistics are facing now.